Even though most known as the goddess of beauty and love, Aphrodite actually represents something far deeper than just the notion of romance. According to some interpretations, she actually represents one of our oldest and most powerful desires that actually marked the point that we started to distinguish ourselves from the animal kingdom. Also, when we think of Aphrodite, we always think about those beautiful and lovely things. However, just like any other gods, she had that dual nature about us. So depending on how we engage with Aphrodite, she can show up as a very powerful force that enhances our life, or she can actually become a problem in our life. Hello and welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jada. In this series, we're diving into the different archetypes of Greek mythology as a tool for self-discovery. If you haven't watched the introduction video yet, I'm gonna link it up above and down below so you get a better understanding on what this series is about. Also, I'm going to link the playlist down below so you can watch the other videos as well. As usual, there are different versions when it comes to Greek mythology. For today, I wanna focus on one of the oldest versions when it comes to Aphrodite's birth. In this version, she is the daughter of Uranus, the sky god. The story basically begins when Cronus, the son of Uranus, wants to overthrow his tyrannical father. Therefore, Cronus ambushes his father and castrates him with a sickle. The genitals then fall into the sea, and from the foam that they create, Aphrodite emerges fully grown, radiant on a seashell. And from the moment that she steps foot on the ground, flowers are starting to bloom all around her. What makes this version so interesting is the fact that she was born from the sea. She arises from the sea. Unlike Athena, who was born from head, Zeus representing her level-headed nature, or from a traditional union, so to speak, she came out of the water, which metaphorically stands for a subconscious mind. She therefore represents our first instinct that arises from our subconscious mind that is not rooted in survival, installing in us our longing for beauty, connection and pleasure. And it is said that it marks the moment in human evolution where we go beyond the pure need of reproduction or ensuring the existence or the continuation of the species. The way this is relevant is that it highlights the intensity of Aphrodite's archetype, like how primal her energy still is. It isn't a very developed or, consciously awakened part of ourselves, but a very primal one that is still very much focused on our own needs and our own pleasure, even though that pleasure is not relevant for the survival anymore. Another huge part that gets highlighted in her myth is her vengefulness and her vanity. If someone dared say that there was a woman more beautiful out there than her, she would become incredibly furious and seek vengeance. She would either manipulate her lovers or her children in seeking vengeance for her because she simply couldn't stand that there was someone or something more beautiful than her. She therefore represents our vanity when we get too much focused on our appearance and we seek validations from our appearance to the point where we only identify or measure our value by our appearance or by how others perceive us. Another big part of her myths are her countless love affairs, which kind of makes sense given the fact that she's the goddess of love, especially her ongoing love affair with Eris, despite the fact that she was actually married. This part of her myth really highlights our desire for pleasures and really enjoying life and indulging in the luxury that life has to offer us, to the point that we might even actually hurt the people around us because all we really care about is our own pleasure. The important thing is also to note that Aphrodite is not necessarily about addictions, it's much more about indulging in pleasure. Even though the excess of indulging in those pleasures can lead to an addiction, it's actually not the primary reason or cause for the addiction. It's more like a consequence of it. A balanced Aphrodite therefore shows herself in their ability to appreciate the beauty of life, to enjoy beautiful things that are in and around us. She's also the one that allows us to enjoy the pleasures of life. This could be an intimate relationship, but equally like good food, art, or meaningful connections in general. Another characteristic of a balanced Aphrodite is our ability to take care of ourselves, to make ourselves pretty for the pleasure of being pretty without the need to be validated for it. We just do it because we enjoy it. An overactive Aphrodite is someone who seeks constant validation and defines her worth by her appearance and the validation from others. So it's being overly vain, but also so insecure to the point where you feel like you are only worth something if others tell you that you are beautiful or special enough. Another thing that we might be struggling with when it comes to an overactive Aphrodite is loyalty, because we are so focused on our pleasure and indulging and enjoying life that we get easily bored, and we therefore constantly seek new pleasures in life. So it's about that need of constantly needing more pleasure, needing more confirmation, needing more attention, that will lead us to being fickle and not staying loyal. Another point is that we start acting on vanity when we become vengeful, when our beauty is questioned or our worth is questioned. And basically it happens because we attach our worth or our validation from the admiration from someone outside, from the compliment or the perception of someone outside of us instead of ourselves. A suppressed Aphrodite, on the other hand, is someone who neglects one's desires and pleasures, who pushes them away or even feels guilty for indulging on them for the simple reason because, well, I don't really need it, which again highlights Aphrodite's position as being one of the first primal instincts that is not rooted in survival. So there can be this feeling of, oh, I feel guilty for indulging in that pleasure because it's not essential, but it's actually the essence of Aphrodite, of our ability to indulge for the pleasure of indulging, not for any outcome of it. Another one can be to avoid self-care. When we don't take care of ourselves, we don't make ourselves pretty because it's unnecessary or it's a waste of time. However, this is not the point of Aphrodite. It's about doing something for the pleasure of doing it and not because it has an outcome or a goal to it. When heavily suppressed, we also deny ourselves like the little small luxuries of everyday life. For example, taking a bath or wearing something that we really love, or taking the time to make ourselves look good. One of the most iconic modern real-life examples of an Aphrodite archetype would actually be Marilyn Monroe. She really embodies that energy of beauty and sensuality, but she also showed us the dark side when it comes to overindulge in that archetype. So while on one hand, on the exterior, she had this beautiful appearance and everybody loved her, on the dark side, behind that facade, she was rather lonely and struggling a lot with her emotional health. So her story really shows us the importance of making sure that we have Aphrodite under control and don't allow her to take over. If you find yourself overindulging in Aphrodite, it's really about taking a moment and ask yourself, am I constantly seeking validation and admiration from the outside because I don't value myself beyond my physical appearance? So it's really about taking the power back in our ability to find ourselves beautiful, to enjoy life without needing the validation from the outside. So what are things that you can do for the sheer pleasure and joy of doing it? Like taking a bath where you just do it for yourself and feeling good about yourself, and not so much about getting a compliment from someone. Because at its best, Aphrodite allows us to enjoy those pleasures in a way that enriches our lives and doesn't make us slaves to some external expectations or how others might perceive us. If, on the other hand, you have a tendency to suppress Aphrodite and have a hard time to enjoy things just for the sake of enjoying them, you could start to focus on experiences that bring you joy just for the pure pleasure of experiencing it and not because it has or serves a certain purpose or goal. Or just start wearing those things that you really love but think, oh, I can't just wear them for everyday life. So Aphrodite is also a lot about learning to romanticize our life. And in case you don't know what that means, romanticizing our life is about taking those little moments in life and make them more luxurious. This could be like buying flowers for yourself or lighting a candle while you're at dinner, or those small little things that make the experience a little more magical. In both cases, it's about learning to enjoy those pleasures in life without either suppressing or being controlled by them. So just reflect on how Aphrodite shows up for you. Is it an energy that you suppress and feel guilty about, and it's maybe time to let her into your life a little more, because you're not a bad person for just indulging for the sake of indulging, as long as you don't harm anyone else for it. At the same time, it can also be about being honest with yourself about the desires that you have and start to speak up for what it is that you really want. And I'm not just necessarily talking about an intimate relationship, like, okay, I have an unfulfilling intimate relationship with my partner, but it can also be in the relationships, something like, listen, I really enjoy having this afternoon just for myself, where I can take care of myself, I can do the things that I want to do without having the need that I need to take care of someone else, just the ability to take care of just myself. And on the other side, if you feel her to be way overactive, just reflect, like, how can you start strengthen that sense of self within yourself without needing someone else's validation? How can you start to find yourself beautiful without needing someone else tell you that you are, just because you know you are, so you don't need that validation anymore? Otherwise, this is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of Aphrodite. I would love to know, and also how she shows up for you. Also, there is the link for the playlist for the other gods down below in the description box as well, if you want to watch those too. Otherwise, I see you in the next one. Thank you so much.